Welcome, Modi. A pleasure to have you. And you want to introduce yourself and tell me what your community is and who they are and anything else that you want to share to begin with?
For sure. My name is Modi. I'm from the Washington, D.C. area. I've been out in LA for the last 9 years. Currently building a community called Swang. It's a golf community. We do a lot of stuff, but I think the big thing is trying to make people feel like golf is more approachable, accessible, all of that. So yeah, that's what I do.
Hmm. Hell yeah. Love that.
Thank you.
I was struck by you've got like a tagline. I'm intrigued if you want to share a little bit more about that, about Swang.
Sure. Which one? We got two. I think you're talking
You
about
got,
the one about like being included.
uh-huh.
Sure. It's yeah. Swang is essentially for those folks who were never invited but always belonged. And that essentially just means, you know, as a kid, I mean, I'm a black kid from Washington, D.C. I felt like golf never was, it was never quite approachable to me, not like necessarily financially, but I didn't see myself in the sport. I didn't see a
Mm,
lot of folks that I related to or connected to. So I think when people talk about access for me, I always think about, it's also about like, do you see yourself in that space? When I have access or exposure to something at a young age and I realize it later, like, damn, I was exposed to that at a young age. I was able to make decisions and I was able to, navigate a space differently than others because I was exposed to it. I had access to it. And I think golf is one of those things. It's the same thing. So for me, I wanted to build a world where people felt like they could access a thing that I didn't understand I could access until I was like 36, you know?
mm, mm.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I'm so glad that Swang exists.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, I'm intrigued what the other tagline is. You said there's two?
Yeah, pull up, tap in. It's like a very
Mm,
simple CTA. Be like, yo, come hang out with us. And then tap in is a pun because in golf, when you hit the ball, you're tapping it in. So
hmm.
that's that one. But I know the other one's definitely more. It's got a little more story to it.
I like the different feelings of both of them. Like one's kind of hits you where you're like, ooh, yes. And the other one is feels like more playful and invitational.
For sure.
Also I love it on your website how it has like the pull up, tap in on it, and then the spinner. I'm like, look at you. Look at you and your fancy designs.
Well, that's all my co-founder. They're a studio called Cathedral, and they are insane when it comes to making digital experiences. So that site is that's our landing page. Our site, that shit's gonna be fun.
I'm excited to see it.
Ditto.
All right. So, anything else that you want to share before we get into rapid fire questions?
Um, I mean, I can give a quick overview of me if that's helpful.
Up to you. Depends how much you want to share about you and
Yeah, I mean,
how it relates to Spain.
so I've been a music kid forever. I was a kid burning CDs in seventh grade, selling them illegally in the hallways of school. By the time I got
Hmm.
to college, I was programming people's iPods, athletes, the homies, whatever. I interned 2 summers at Def Jam, and that was again exposure, right? I got to see the music industry at 18, 19 years old and understand, like, I just had a perspective of it. When I got back to college for my junior year, I started a radio show with my best friend Quinn, called DC to BC. I'm from Washington, DC. I went to Boston College. And that radio show was just like a 2 hour on campus AM radio show. But we had, Quinn was a lower classman, I was an upperclassman, and we sort of like divided and conquered and had an interesting audience. So we would have just a lot of people in the Boston area, but also all of our friends from DC, all of our friends that went to school across the country would listen, share with their roommates, and we were just sharing stuff that we liked to listen to. It got pretty popular. This was around 2008, 9 when the blog era started to be a thing, meaning radio no longer was the only thing that was like dictating what people were listening to. We had these, what were they called? Weblogs, or as we call them, blogs, that
Hmm.
were people, individuals with their own perspective sharing it online. And, you know, we picked up steam. We had an audience. We had a POV. We shared the shit we fucked with. That became sort of like a whole movement. When we graduated from college, we evolved the company. I guess the blog turned into like an actual production company. Started doing events. The first show I ever did was in 2011 with an unsigned, relatively unknown artist at the time named Kendrick Lamar, and we know where he is today. But that was like the beginning of, I guess, my career in the music industry, for real. A year later, I started my first music festival with my man Quinn and my college roommate Marcel. Um, yeah, and that was another life-changing moment. We did a
What's the
lot.
festival?
Pardon?
What was the name of the festival?
The festival is called Trelectro.
Mm.
Was sort
Oh
of
yeah.
bridging the gap between hip hop and dance music, and we had, I think, our first year headliners were Flosstradamus and Schoolboy Q. Um, Artists like Flatbush Zombies, Chance the Rapper, Kid Cudi, ASAP Rocky, uh, Young Thug, Two Chainz, SZA, Ray Shremmer, Migos, Big Sean, Bauer. I mean, we had about 6 years of strong lineups, independent, self-funded music festival. So anyway, I did that. Got a job at Nike. Went up to Portland and worked there for a bit.
Wow. You made the whole move.
I made the move. I was coming back every so often to help keep the festival alive, and then eventually I moved down to Los Angeles to work for Red Bull, and I was there for 3 years, and then I went to the music industry proper, actually at a record label. Was at three of those and fell out of love with that. Found golf and realized pretty quickly when I found it that it wasn't the concept; it was the context around the game that I didn't love. The sport was
Hmm.
cool. If I could
Hmm.
change the context around the game, I figured I could, one, be more intrigued by it, but also two, bring a lot of my friends into it. And that's how
Mm.
my community started.
Love that. I love knowing the backstory of like all the different ways that you've gathered people and why over the years, and then how you've like perhaps I don't know if you relate to this, but the way that I see it is that like you started with a medium like music that is very universal in many ways, and maybe there's different genres that relate to different people, but it can be a great unifier. And now you're like brought those skills and that insight to something that is much more exclusive or has very specific like cultural assumptions around how to be in golf and that like the sport of golf, and yet you're like making it more accessible and making it more open, and that's really cool. Love that.
Thank you. Yeah, the mission is really just, I mean, I'm connecting golf to culture because I think
Hmm.
that's what's going to get a whole bunch of folks that never cared about it or thought about it or even knew it was for them to understand
Hmm.
they can be a part if they want. And I think, it's a sport that needs disruption. I think it's very white, country club, stodgy, stuffy, and
Hmm.
there's just like the thing I've been saying since the beginning is like, and I'm a kid that hooped my whole life, at least up until it was time to go to college, and I feel like the Allen Iverson of golf will come out of a community like Swang. And by that, I mean, like, Tiger Woods didn't inspire me outside of being an amazing athlete, but culturally, he wasn't someone I looked at. I was
Hmm.
influenced by music and sport and culture, all of that kind of shit was what moved me. So I think in today's world, if you could, you look at basketball, football, all of those sports have a lot of like black culture influence. And I think if you can bring some of that influence to golf and showcase that black is not a monolith and all the things that we're into and all the things that are going on in culture and find ways to infuse that into the sport that typically has none of that, then you're going to bring a whole bunch of attention to it. And that is how people can say, oh, this is my entry point and my touch point into the sport. So I think if you do that well, you can have the next incredibly culturally impactful golfer, and it's outside of just his talent, it's talent and also the things that he or she is into.
Mm. I love that that's your focus, is to create like just casually creating the next best golfer.
Next best culturally relevant cool golfer,
Yes. Yeah.
however they want to
That's
show up,
best. That's best.
urge you.
Incredible. Okay. Well, let's go into rapid fire questions because these can be just like sort of shorter answers, like a minute or two, and then we can like expand on what comes out of them afterwards. Sound
Okay.
good?
Yep.
Yeah? Great. All right. So you spoke a little bit about this already, but I'm intrigued if there's anything else that you want to share. What are the values of your community?
I think access is major. Um, Making sure people have access to the sport. When we do our sessions, they're called free range. We have them at a driving range. We provide free balls, free club rentals, and free lessons. And those
Sweet.
things are things that you just can't really see in golf. I think golf is very high barrier to entry sport. You know, you need land, you need clubs, you need to understand the sport. There's a whole like etiquette and world around it. And I think that like when I found out about golf the hard way, which is making mistakes, doing things like stepping on people's line and not, fixing a divot when it happens and all these things that most people like who are watching this are gonna be like, what is that? That's how I
Hmm.
felt. But if you can find a way to sort of help people onboard onto the sport a little easier by creating sort of like a safe place for them to suck, is how we've been speaking about it.
I
And I
love that.
have, yeah, you have a community that feels like you have their back. There's trust that you've built there.
Hmm.
And I think the other thing is like you want to feel seen. I think there's a lot of people that come to Swing that have been playing golf for their entire lives. It's not really about the skill level. It's more about feeling like you belong. And I think that
Hmm.
folks out there haven't really felt like there's been a golf community that speaks to them as a human being because we're all into a lot of stuff. And I think Swang is a place where you can say, okay, bet they're playing music out here. There's a lot of folks of color. There's a lot of women. This is not what normal golf experiences look like. But there's all these people that have been yearning for that experience. So they're coming to Swang to seek it and or to
Amazing.
find it. And I think that, you know, um, those those are pretty strong core values of ours.
Mm. So accessibility and belonging.
I believe so,
Amazing. I want to ask you more about that after you come back to it because I feel like that could be a whole conversation in itself.
for sure.
All right, next question is what is the structure of your events?
Yeah, that's an interesting question because I think we have one event,
Hmm.
the free range that I mentioned earlier, which is like a bi-weekly 3 hour hang at a driving range. But we also have done tournaments, we've done them as fundraisers, we've done them with other brands, like we did Rolling Loud Invitational, which is Rolling Loud is a hip hop festival, biggest hip hop festival in the world. Partnered with them in Los Angeles for their third annual invitational back in March. Um, we're working on more sort of like products, if you will. One of them is called 949, where we get people to go hit the ball, play 9 holes before 9 a.m., Um,
Okay.
out moving around.
Hmm.
We have a lot of ideas. We're working towards membership as well. So we're going to do stuff like small breakout sessions for pitching, putting, chipping, maybe even like fitness and wellness around it. So meditation and mindfulness, but also like workouts specifically tailored for golf folks. Yeah, that's sort of like where the events uh, live right now. But right now, the only thing that we do consistently and on a regular cadence is our free range driving range session.
Mm. All of them sound amazing. I'm excited to see what emerges.
Yeah, I'm excited for you to pull up. Check us out.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to play golf. I was a under eights, under nines, under tens golf champion. It's been a
Wow.
while though.
We need you out there. We need you to show.
It's been a while though.
Okay,
Got to
whatever.
preface that.
We'll see you out there.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Where do y'all play?
Rancho Park.
Where is that?
It's in Cheviot Hills, sort of close to Century City Mall.
Oh yeah,
But
cool.
I mean, we can come out to Highland Park if we need to.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of golf courses in LA. Amazing. Okay. What stage are you at in swing? Like how far along are you since you began?
Man, we're almost at 2 years. It'll be 2 years
2 years.
August 31st. This year it really accelerated and became more consistent. We started fundraising this year. We got our first $50,000 from actually a record label owner. and we're working.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Trying to get to 500,000 so we can build out all the things we want to build out, like build a team,
Wow.
like start to work towards all the things that we envision. Yeah, it's going well.
Incredible.
Thank you.
That brings in the other question I suppose I have that I'll bring earlier, which is like, what is your financial model? You mentioned fundraising and membership. How does that
Yeah,
all work together?
where we're thinking about is like the community is sort of like the engine that'll power everything else. So the experiences come from that. And also another experience idea is like destination trips. What does that look like? But experiences, content, product and apparel, those are all sort of verticals we're going to build out. Um, on top of membership. Membership is like the thing that when we get it right, like if we can scale, say 20,000, 30,000 members annually that are paying a subscription to get access to
Hmm.
the community, access to experiences, events, um, being, rewarded with, gifts and
Hmm.
all of the kind of things that any membership program offers, like we want to offer as well. And I think, we're not talking about just the physical like membership. This is more like a digital clubhouse, meaning,
Hmm.
Swang is hyper local right now. We will in the near future pop out to cultural tempo moments like the art basels and, All-Star Weekend and all of those kind of things, but also like golf events. What does it look like to see Swang at the Masters? What does it look like to see Swang at the Genesis Invitational out here in LA? All of that
Hmm.
kind of stuff. Um,
Cool.
so yeah, I mean, we have a lot of stuff we want to do, but I think the financial model is really just building a margin-rich business around those revenues. I mean, those verticals I mentioned.
Mm. Amazing. Excited to see. What's your team structure? How does that work? You mentioned building out a team with that funding.
Yeah, there's myself now who wears
Hmm.
way too many hats, and then my partner Josh and his agency Cathedral. So they're
Hmm.
like handling all digital experiences. We're collaborating on the fundraise, so reaching out to our networks and talking to people, trying to figure out, you know, who's the right folks to invest in a thing like this. I think this is all
Hmm.
angel capital, no VC, no PE. Like we just want folks that have money they need to deploy and really believe in what we're doing and
Hmm.
the importance of like a community first sort of like lifestyle brand and what we're doing and why we're doing this.
Hmm.
Yeah, but in terms of what we need, I think we need to get operations. I think we need to get someone that can cover content. We need to figure out strategic partnerships with folks that understand how to build out apparel brands,
Hmm.
all of that kind of stuff. Like there's a lot to be done, but we're ambitious and excited, and there's just an opportunity that we need to seize.
Yeah. Sounds like big dreams that you'll know how to make a reality.
Got to do it.
I'm intrigued. You mentioning like financial structure, team structure, pitching. Do you have any tips? Because I hear from a lot of community builders that they have built out these amazing events. They've started building a team, but they don't necessarily know how to get that financial model in place. Do you have tips around like pitching to investors that you would share with other community builders?
It's a good question. I don't know if I have tips because I think everything is about, I mean, you got to, sell a story, right? At the end of the day, like fundraising is storytelling. You have to
Hmm.
get bought into your vision. You have to paint a very vivid picture so they can get it and answer all the questions that they probably have that you're probably going to get every time you talk to people. Figure
Hmm.
out what those are, get them answered, and then if you have them answered, then hopefully they're going to say, "Bet, where do I sign? How do I learn more?" And I think that's the goal. So that's my first time ever pitching for money. I think asking someone for money is insane, but then when you reach folks that have money, like they're used to these kind of conversations and they're trying to figure
Hmm.
out how to invest in the next thing that's hopefully going to bring them a return. So yeah,
Hmm.
I think it just takes a lot of practice. I probably had 50 conversations. We have one check. So I assume that I'm going to have to times that by a lot to get to the number I need. But I think you also
Hmm.
get stronger, you get better. People start to, I also think once you get like a wave of people putting money in, then it's like, oh, okay. If all these other people are putting money in, then we'll put some money in too. So it's
Hmm.
a momentum thing, and I've learned that from my friends that are also fundraising, maybe in a different type of business, like a VC backed tech business.
Hmm.
It's pretty much the same, you know?
Cool. So storytelling, being able to like preempt any FAQs that people have, and then reps.
Yeah.
Just
Rep,
keep
a lot of rep.
doing them.
I honestly hated it, and my business partner, and another sort of consultant friend of mine would like wake me up. We wake up early in the morning and like go through the pitch. And now I've got it like much better than I ever had it. But like I'm sick of hearing it. I don't want to tell it anymore. But it's like an artist that has a hit. Like they
Mm,
about to have to play this hit forever.
yeah.
So, and it's what's making them money. So if this is how it goes and this is how it goes, hopefully there's a point where I don't have to do it anymore. And I can just work on building the business instead of selling the
Hmm.
dream of what we want to do, you know? So
Hmm. Hmm.
that's what's motivating me to get locked in. And I think the last month has been like just, we're seeing so many things happen from news coverage in the LA Times to going to Cannes and
Cool.
Paris Fashion Week and having like people understand who we are and notice us or yeah, they're familiar with us from across the country or sorry, the world. Those kind of things give you sort of the battery in your back that you need to you know that you're doing something that people care about and
Mm.
just you want to just keep it going. So it's been fun. Yeah.
All right, that's the end of the rapid fire questions because which is I'm excited. There's a few different things that you've mentioned that I want to ask more about and understand more about. And something that you keep mentioning is culture. And I'm intrigued, like, why does culture matter for Swang? And what does culture mean to you in the context of building a community?
Yeah, sure. You want to ask it or should I just answer it?
It's for you. I'm the one asking the questions. You're the one answering.
Whoa. Um,
I got a completely different answer, but I don't know anything about Swing.
yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think when I say culture, I think I mean Black culture. I think I mean the culture that inspired me, the things that shape my perspective. So it's a mix of all the things that have shaped me. And
Hmm.
I think finding that I think when I build communities or actually when I try and connect with anybody, it's about finding the common ground and also like learning about someone the differences. But I think that like let's talk about sneaker culture, right? If you wear a certain sneaker and you're into that world, you're gonna see someone wearing a sneaker and be like, "Oh shit." I can probably tell you a lot about that human being if they have that sneaker, because that's one of those sneakers that you gotta know. If you know where to find it, what it means. It's like if you rock a band tee, you're a big, I don't know, Metallica fan, Tori Moi fan. You wear a band tee, you're signaling to the world like, yo, this is what I'm into. You're a sports fan, you have a Yankees fitted on or whatever. You're telling the world like, yo, this is what I'm about. And I think that I'm trying to build a space where people can share their cultural sort of like inspirations and the things that shape them in this space where like there's a lot of similarity, energy. I don't know if I know how to articulate it properly, but I think I know how to architect it, if that makes sense.
Hmm. How do you architect it?
I think you just think for me, it's like I build around things that I'm passionate about. So like I like golf, but I want to figure out how to make it for me. So I'm bringing speakers out there. I'm playing the music that I like and I'm into. I'm inviting the folks that I think would also enjoy and letting them invite their friends. Swang was word of mouth until Instagram. I mean, we had a private Instagram account, and I told myself I wasn't gonna open it until we hit 3,000 followers. And then we hit 3,000 followers a few months ago, and now we're at like, and that was like a year and some change it took to get that big, or maybe less, 2,000 something. Once we started doing collaborations with the likes of the Rolling Louds, things just changed because I think a lot more folks were like, oh shit, I identify with this type of golf, this sort of experience. This seems interesting. It feels like a place that I want to ask people when they come how they found out about it. They're like, yeah, A friend told me about it. I checked the Instagram. I looked at the photos. It looked like a thing that I'd be into. I saw mutual friends following the page, and I wanted to come. You know,
Mhm.
a lot of people's story is the same, right? It's like I'm trying to meet new people. I'm intrigued by the sport, but didn't know where to start. Um, I've been looking for my golf community that like resembled who I was, but I just couldn't find it. Like I have executives at Netflix who are like, "Yo, I'm a part of a country club and I love the courses, but like the people suck. I'm looking for folks I can really relate to." So I mean, I don't really like the word culture. I don't know how to. I think there's so many different types of culture. You know, culture is like
Mhm.
almost lost its meaning. But when I use it, I think I'm really speaking about a blend of a bunch of different cultures that I'm like fond of or intrigued by. I'm trying to basically build a space where like all of these different people with different cultural references, but there's like some common denominator or something that combines everybody that makes them
Mhm.
say like, oh yeah, I would love to have it like I would love to have a conversation with someone here. I'd love to golf with these people. My favorite thing is seeing when people come to Swang and they become friends and then they start hanging out in non-golf environments. Like that to me is like we've done our job. We've created this space and said, "Hey, this is what we're building. If you fuck with it, come fuck with it." And the space is filled by a bunch of different folks that have their own perspectives of what they want, but they are actually building the community. Like it's not me. I just set the tone. I create the vision, and people fill it with what they want it to be. And I think the coolest thing about a community is that people start to raise their hands and take on roles. I mean, I look at like Reddit is completely, it's a community essentially run by the people, right? Like the moderators are just regular people that really are passionate about said topic. And I think like I've been a part of run clubs and I've seen that happen. I've seen people start, never ran in their life, started running, the run club gave them sort of a framework to get from never running my life to running my first 5K. Then they say, "Oh shit, I want to help. I want to be a stretch captain. I want to lead the runs. I want to help take photos. I want to do this and that." And then the community sort of like elects the folks who have raised their hands saying, I want to play a role." And I think that's how real strong communities are built. It's like people show up, people want to be a part, they show that they're dedicated and down for the cause. It's funny because a friend of mine, he calls Swang a community first cult like lifestyle brand. And I'm not saying I'm a cult
I
leader,
see that.
but I do think there's a lot of similarities if you look at like if you watch the cult documentaries like the Wild Wild Countries, like
I do. I love them.
me too. They're so interesting. And I think there's a fine line, obviously, that you need to walk. I think a lot of these communities start with like good intention, but then things get tainted and then weird, and then somebody ends up getting stabbed or drinking some Kool-Aid. But I don't think
Mm-hmm.
in this, I think we're just trying to bring like-minded folks together um, so they can find each other, so they can play this sport that traditionally hasn't really been for them. I think the common denominator is an interest in goal. Everything
Mm.
else, whatever. I have my perspective, but it doesn't mean that someone with a completely different perspective can't be here. If they're like, "Hey, I want to feel like I belong and I want access to this thing," then I think we've created the space for those folks. You
Mm.
know,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you shared that your values of your community were accessibility and belonging, and it sounds like, you finished sharing about culture with accessibility and belonging again, and it sounds like it's like you're like, here's my cultural context of me personally, and this is what I'm offering because I want to see something that I'm into in the world in a way that actually feels relatable. And then you've offered that space to other people and with the intention of community and belonging, and that's like blossomed because people are drawn to it. And that it sounds like I know I agree with you, the word culture is overused and therefore it can sometimes feel empty of like, what does that even mean? And yet, if we think of it as a very literal term of gathering people with a similar interests or beliefs or desires, it sounds like you've really created that through a niche understanding of cultural context along with like the belonging and the inclusion, and it's beautiful to see.
that was so well said. I'm excited to listen to this and steal that and use that when I question moving forward.
Always down to be a sounding board for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, fun to hear about the creations that people put into the world. And, I know that community building is not easy, and it sounds like you're very devoted and committed to it. And it's really impressive to hear what you've created already in a couple of years.
Thank you so much.
Hmm. All right, more questions because I feel like we've only just started scratching the surface. Um, but also any insights that you have, because it sounds like over the years through music and festivals and brand work that you have like built communities in different ways or in different mediums and contexts. So I'm curious if you have any like practical insights for other community builders. So I want to get a little practical about some questions here. Um, so the first question is, how do you get people excited about your events?
Man, I mean, I don't know if I have the right answer, but for me, it's like if I'm excited, I'm building about what I care about. And I'm also a person that likes to share what I'm working on, what I'm into. I think that's why I became, you know, a strong blogger because I was the person that was sending links to people on AIM or MSN, whatever. They didn't ask me for it, but I was like, you need to hear this. It's just too good. I'm gonna share it. So I think me as a community builder, I'm like a megaphone. I'm a
Hmm.
promoter. At the end of the day, I want to share things that I care about. And none of this stuff came. I didn't anticipate Swang being like a I was just doing it honestly selfishly because I wanted to get better at golf and I figured I needed some type of like accountability mechanism that was going to force me to get out there because like it's a lot. It's not like soccer or running where you can be like, all right, I'm going outside, I'm about to do it. Now you have to put your clubs in your car, make sure you have the shoes, make sure you got the glove, all these things. So for me, Swang was really designed for me. And it I didn't anticipate it to scale to this degree. Like last week we had 400 people out there. We put,
Amazing.
an Instagram flyer up on Monday and Thursday 200 people came out. And like I'm at to the point where I'm like, damn, I want to figure out how to contain like I want to figure out how to streamline this. I want to figure out how to make it an even better experience. So now I'm obsessing over like the little thing. But
Mm,
to answer your question, I think for me, I get excited about something, and if I get excited, it's not hard for me to share with people. I'm gonna find the folks that are into the thing. I'm
hmm.
not I'm not gonna force it, but I'm gonna share it, and hopefully it attracts.
Cool. Yeah, I feel like you were talking about storytelling earlier with pitching. And I feel like in its purest form, marketing is just storytelling. And
Yeah,
then it sounds like when the kind of people who share when they're excited are often the best marketers. So it sounds like it's a natural for you to just be like, here's the thing I'm into. I'm sure someone else is. So
yeah.
come
Not
through.
it's very difficult for me to sell something I'm not passionate about. I normally quit jobs when I reach this place where I'm like, I don't believe in this anymore. Um, that's actually how every job has landed. It's like I just stopped believing in what we were selling, or I wasn't passionate or excited about it. So that's me. Some marketers are like, they're into the challenge of being like, all right, I don't know I'm gonna figure out how to sell this thing. I'm into selling things that I believe in, and I don't feel like I have to come up with some kind of weird strategy to do it. I just can like honestly speak on it. And then it becomes, as something gets bigger, you have to start to get strategic, but
Mhm.
ultimately at its core, it's something that I'm into. So I'm fucking with it.
I'm excited for you. It sounds aligned. All right. Another practical question. What are three things that you've learned either in like the first phase of swing or in the last 2 years that you're like, damn, I wish I had known that sooner, or I wish someone had told me this. That would have been so helpful to know.
Mm, I don't know if I got three things off the top, but I can say the toughest thing is like I didn't have a safety net. I just quit my job with and I wasn't anticipating this to happen. Um, and I think we were lucky to get some money earlier on, because I don't know how I would be able to keep on going with no resources. I mean, it's taking a toll on me. I'm used to getting a check every 2 weeks, and now it's like you have to eat what you kill. You know, you may not get paid. I have to work a lot of side gigs to make sure I can pay my rent. And I think that if you want to stay the course, it's like if you have stability, things become a lot easier.
Mm.
Um, I'm glad I did it this way, just so I now know I can tell people like, yo, you better be ready to live on the wild side if you don't have, a plan. But yeah, I think that's the big one. I think the other thing is like, I mean, like any leader, right? You got to learn how to delegate. You got to learn how to trust the right folks. Um, if you worked at a company where you could say, "Hey, I work at this place," and it like, people want to talk to you because you work at said company. When you're on your own, it's a different beast. You really have to figure out a reason why someone should respond to your email. Um, you know, take a coffee meeting with you. It's less glamorous, and I think that until you get over the hump, it's like it's an uphill battle. So I don't know. Those are two things I'd share, but
Mm.
I don't
That's
know.
real. I appreciate the honesty about the startup.
Hey man, why would I have these conversations with y'all if I'm not real? That's not helping.
Totally. Sometimes there's a bit of fake it till you make it with the startup world, and I don't think that's always helpful for people who are about to do the same thing. So I
I
appreciate
agree
your honesty.
for sure, for sure.
All right, I want to ask you a couple more questions before we finish. We talked about like belonging, and we talked about inclusion, and you spoke a little bit about why you do what you do and that it's like something that you're excited about. But I'm curious, in the challenging moments or like the moments of doubt, what keeps you showing up and why?
I think I just believe that, you know, there's a world in which a lot of folks are looking for this. Like for me, I need to also say this, I'm not building a black golf company. I'm just a black man building in golf. And I think a lot of people think I'm building something just for black people. But in actuality, I'm building something that appeals to anybody who digs it. Um, I'm trying to make sure that, I've always sort of built in spaces for countercultures, the folks that are not always catered to. When I threw parties, you had like the big promoters that would talk to like the Rick Rosses and like the Young Jeezys and the big radio heavy artists, and we would do events with like the Theophilus London and the Solange Knowles and the Common, the stuff that was like, you know, not mainstream but really dope. And there was always to me a lack of support for that counterculture communities. For me, I just wanted to build for it, and I feel like I'm always trying to build for that person who doesn't feel like they're seen. So I think that's probably what keeps me showing up because I know that I would want that space, and I love talking to other community builders because I know the work is it's very thankless, and I mean there's a lot of support for it, but like people don't know how crazy it is to do this. I also think that because it's often something that people do in their leisure time, it may not seem like work, like
Mm.
hosting, bringing people together, and they don't see all the stuff that happens behind the scenes. It gets stressful, conversations you have to have. Also, like remembering people's names and faces and support, all the things that come with being a community builder and leader, organizer, however you want to slice it. Like it's a lot, but I'm good at it. And I think there's a lot of people that appreciate it. So for me, it's just like I think it's just something I'm programmed to do. And also, I get a lot of joy out of like making sure people meet because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's like this person over here is doing something really cool, and there's a person at the end of the bays that's doing something really cool, and like they may not know each other. And I love trying to create the space where they could find each other. I love when people told me that they met their wives or husbands at my music festival. You know what I mean? Like that's to me, that's the kind of like that's why you do it, right? Or business partner or whatever. Like have your first experience that open you up to this or that. Like all of those things can happen in spaces when you build them. So those are
Mm,
all reasons why I think I keep on coming back to doing it.
mm. Beautiful. What a legacy you are leaving.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that you want to share before we finish? Anything that feels like you haven't mentioned it and it would be incomplete without it?
I think it's all about making sure you have a team. You can't do anything by yourself. I work with a dude named Josh Huberman every day. He keeps me straight. He's like very much behind the scenes, but he's a genius. And like without him, I don't think I would have realized the potential of what we're building. Um, so I think it's important to make sure your team is strong and they do stuff that you don't like to do and you do stuff that they don't like to do or aren't good at. That way you guys are like really maximizing what you can do. Um, Outside of that, man, I don't think so. I'm trying to build this cool thing in golf. And I think people are starting to see that the sport is much cooler than they remember. So I just want to let people know they should follow Swang, SWANG on I think Instagram, maybe I don't know what other socials, but check us out,
Hmm.
man. I think we're just building something that's different. It's new, and hopefully, this is one of those things that changes my life and all the other folks that interact with it, their lives too.
I hope that too. We'll share all of the links and details as well so that people can find it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're done. Nice.